Welcome back to another episode of Laois Talks. This is a business podcast where we're focusing on general points of Laois. So we talk about everything to do with Laois. Tonight we have John Hayes in. There's actually a lot of guests on tonight, so you're going to bear with us for a little bit. We're going to be going through guests all night. And beside me right here is Mark Gavin. Mark, say hello.
How you doing, guys?
And across from us again is Georgina from Solus.
Hi, everyone.
Tonight we're talking about Port Art Collective, which is something I've heard about on the grapevine for a long way off, but it's a group of people getting together to well, explain it better to us, Mark. Actually, it's probably best you do it.
Yeah, I suppose it's like, look, it's good to talk about it. It's something that's come about very, very recently. So it kind of grew out of, within Port Ireland the last while, there's a real sense of a kind of energy around the town. There's been a really, really kind of good, good vibe. And what we found, so I came down about 15 years ago, so I'm one of the blow-ins. But about 8 or 9 years ago, we set up a coder dojo, and we started to find there's a huge amount of talent and skills within Port Ireland and that. Variety of skill sets, not just technology. That kind of evolved a bit, and we collaborate with the Enterprise Centre, and we set up MakePort about 2 years ago. So we kind of moved a little bit from our STEM focus, very kind of techie stuff, into the STEAM, which is bringing in the arts part of it. And when we did that, we found not only were there loads of techie people, there's loads of great artists around the town. And that was kind of the catalyst for this. So through that, we've been talking to all these people for a lot of time. There's some great works out in Derry Ounce. I don't know if anyone's got a chance to go out there. The trees are fantastic. It's like going through a different world. There's 6 different works of arts that have been done within that. And they were actually done by Brian and Betta, who were people that worked on stuff in MakePort. We did a Halloween sort of, it was for the arts night. We did a great Halloween setup. They did that as well too. This all culminated in about 2 months ago. I was talking to some guys who said, look, it'd be really good to see if we can pull this together. There's obviously latent kind of, skill set, latent group of people that, that don't know that they're out there. So we held a meeting in Solus. It was great. We went down at lunchtime. It was really informal. We just had a chat, and kind of on the back of having that chat, it became very clear. There was 3 things that we kind of said, look, this would be really good to focus on. Like, as a group, we have much more capacity to get funding. As a group like that, we all said that there's no festivals anymore in Portarlington. I think we've all seen the local French postman knocking back snails and riding off into the distance with.
When was the last time there was a festival out there?
It's probably it's at least 2. I think it could be pre-pandemic, minus another 2 years ago.
I think it's about 4 years now.
Yeah, absolutely. And similar with the Patrick's Day Parade as well too, like that. That was also like called, and even there's the Blueberry Festival as well too. So shame for a town like that with so much such a big population, young population as well too. And
it's a growing population currently as well, isn't it? Yeah, a lot of business, a lot of people coming and going from it.
You can really see it. You get that sense. Even just the new faces, it's kind of moving where it would have been so many blow-ins. And I've known over the 15 years that I've been there, the change. You can see around the place, like. But this was kind of so this was a natural catalyst for that. We saying, look, it'd be great to have a festival again. And that's where, so we had the funding, the festival, and then ultimately maybe down the line like that, it'd be great to have a focal point, a location. There's loads of places in the town, unfortunately, that would make great locations. They're not being used at the moment, where we could even copy ideas. So I know in Wexford, they have things, there's an art collective down there that hosts a permanent store, and they work as a collective. They'll take a day here, a day there, across the group to man it, and they cover the rent as well too, and they can show off their wares like music and all the different stuff. So that's kind of where I went. We had the lunch. We agreed on the 3 kind of focal points for it. And from that, we've now come up with the idea of having the festival. So that's really was where it kind of grew.
And this is where Solus is coming into this as well. You've been helping out with this festival along the way.
Yeah, Solus, we're very excited to be involved because we feel like it's a great addition to the town. Like as Mark said, there is loads of talent in Portarlington, and it's Solus's ethos to be part of the community and to be able to give back to the community. So it's great that we're able to be involved. And
is there other businesses, Mark, that could get involved? I mean, there's tons of collaboration opportunities here when you have such a broad range of subjects. Like you've got art, you've got comic work, you've got visual media, you've got music coming into this. You've got absolutely every section is there. So is there some businesses you'd be looking to get hold of?
I think absolutely, if we could get into them. So we're very lucky. I don't know if anyone's seen the murals on the cinema. We're on the Into the West one. That's ADW, Adam, he's part of the group, and like for the Oddies, I know a lot of other towns have had a great, like a renaissance.
I was in Waterford recently. They've got the entire mural thing. They do a tour every single year of the murals and the repaint. It's a fascinating thing.
100%. And like even the buildings that are there at the moment like that, like we've got Gulliver's Travels was something that was written in the town as well. Parts of it anyway were there like that. There's huge connections that we could do. A lot of the buildings, a lot of the businesses that have them there like that. Yeah, there's great opportunities like that. with the murals. Also with some of the technology stuff, we have been putting in sensors around the town, just even to trying to track the traffic and the throughput of the town, and in terms of, say, pollution that comes with that. So there's an awful lot of stuff. We're starting to get a lot of data, and it's just bringing together all the different groups to try and get this focal point. But in the last 2 years, there's a sustainability group started popping up. There's a business association, which is really, that's a really key thing. It's hard to believe we didn't have one before. You've also got a Grow Remote, because there's so many of us are working remotely as well too. The PCDA obviously do a huge amount of good work like that. If you've been to the Dairy Ants, it's just fantastic.
Nice.
So you can kind of see there's a culmination of all that energy. It seems to be coming together now. And I would say Circus is probably a great kind of example. You wouldn't have seen that in the town. It could be 5 years ago or so like that. Never would have imagined you have this fantastic business. And they're probably going to eject me for loitering there because I'm down the whole time getting coffee and in the markets on as well. So yeah, well, look, that's it. Yeah. Once I keep paying.
Yeah, it always goes on. But with the rest of the businesses in the town then, Georgian, there must be more other businesses that will be wanting to get involved in this. What kind of collaborations could be brought into your premises? Because you have the space for something interesting to happen, at least immediately.
Different workshops.
Yeah.
And, well, we already run lots of workshops at the moment. We have lots of different artists from the town that come in to do workshops. And also, obviously, our farmers market is full of local businesses that come in. So, yeah, we're just growing all the time. And, we want to be really part of the community.
Yeah, of course, it's part of that group, though. John, is there anything you can add to this to make it sense for businesses in the town?
Well, it's very, very exciting times for Portarlington. I get the energy here and the positivity here just from Mark, just listening to Mark. But I think the key for me is solace, because now you have an anchor, and with that anchor, it's beginning to act like a magnet, and you're sucking in all these talented people. Like Georgina, don't be shy about it, don't be modest about it. It's now a go-to destination, because the 2 times I've been over there so far, I've been talking to people as I do. I've been, a nosy so-and-so, and I'd be talking to people, and more than half the people I spoke to were from Dublin or Greater Dublin. So you're, in terms of, dare I mention, Avoca, you're a go-to destination.
That's the idea. That's the long-term plan. And it is good. We are getting people outside of the county, which is the plan. Is people from Dublin, as you say, people from Armagh, Donegal have been down. So. We want to be nationwide.
Yeah, absolutely. You're well on the way. It's great to see it.
So, Mark, what do you need for moving on, to move this on further? I know the festival is set, but what about 2022? What about next year? After Christmas, it all settles down, pandemic disappears, everything starts to get back to normal, so my fingers crossed and all that sort of thing. Yeah,
well, we're very lucky. We have Seamus going to coin the phrase. So this is Pack 1, so Portland Art Collective. Part 1, and just to say as well too, we're doing it in conjunction with the Dunamaze Art Centre as well too. So the Spree Fest is actually helping out there on this Sunday as well. So it will be over 3 days. In terms of where we'd like to take this on, this is our first time doing it. We want to make it a success and something that we manage and learn from. I think down the line, it'd be great to see more festivals, and not necessarily doesn't have to follow the same pattern. There's such an eclectic mixture of skills in the group, between the crafts, the art, and then, there's just tons of stuff. We can mic over something a bit different the next time, and the music obviously as well too. We'd love to look at getting that location. I think that'd be a really key thing.
A permanent residence is what you're looking for. Somewhere you can set up shop and stay there. How big do you need that to be? How large? Are we talking about needing a yard, or it just needs a shop?
I think it needs to be something that's a decent size. To make it viable, it needs to be something that we can run workshops. So we want to be able to fund ourselves. You don't want to be going in there just looking to be getting grants purely to run it. It needs to be something that's a viable entity. To do that, you need to have the space that you can run workshops, exhibit as well too, and then potentially like that there's a ton of other stuff you can overlap with. I think recently it was actually brought up as part of the Doyle questions that there's the enterprise center there as well too. There's the tie-ins with that you can grow from this, because I know art it also can produce business as well too. There's an awful lot of potential crossovers there with it.
Obviously that's the handy funding element is local business, because local business will fund something that gets boots on the ground, so to speak. People coming from a distance will easily get involved in something, particularly art stuff, because it's a visual entertainment. They love that visual entertainment part.
Well, look, I don't know if anyone's I mentioned Wexford before, but I happened to be there for just a weekend about 2-3 weeks ago like that. They've got Green Acres. They have 4 different designated art buildings in the town, and that alone makes it a destination. So you already have Circus, sucking people coming in. They're
Yes.
actually coming to port. That was never a thing before. People actually coming actively as opposed to passing through or leaving. But if we have somewhere like, you know, that puts on great art, particularly local art as well too, that's another thing that could really suck more people and you know, have a great experience in the town. You know, Sulis, you got the Derry Ounce. They're also doing fantastic work of extending along by the Barrow Blueway. I know out in Monasterevin that they're putting in that sort of the new distillery is going as well too. Like the potential is really there. It is just about kind of pulling it together, you know, and that's really where we're going. We're trying to get the different groups talking to each other, you know.
Yeah, because a few months ago, or maybe it feels like years ago, but I think it was months ago, in Kilkenny, they had I won't say an arts festival, but they had various art workshops in different like restaurants and pubs and clubs and all kinds of places. You walk down the street and would say art gallery this way, and it was in a cafe thing. So that kind of visual tour of an area can also work if you spread it out a bit.
Yeah, that'd be great. As I said, like there isn't any festival, bar this one at the moment. There's a great opportunity to pull that in, and there's plenty of pubs. You know, there's the overlapping with that.
And they all need money.
Yes.
They all need money, but obviously you have the infrastructure there with the libraries and the co-working hubs around the county as well. So I think there's a huge collaboration. You see, people have this thing that, you know, arts are over here and business is over here,
yeah.
and they flow. The flow, it's in both directions. So I'd love to see pop-up shops to fund your group and similar groups around the county popping up in libraries, in hubs, and you utilize the space. I mean, okay, for example, we're going to have our new library in Portlaois. Now we're going to have to wait another 12 months.
Amazingly, 12 months.
Yeah, well, but we will have it. But if you're spending all that money, and I have no problem. I mean, that was the budget. Okay, we're going to spend it on the library, and they made a decision. Okay, and you put your spade in the ground, keep digging, and build it. But when you've built it and you've spent the money, why is it closed at 6 o'clock in the evening? This is what and walking around. It's not just libraries, it's banks. Banks at 4 o'clock in the evening or 5 o'clock when they turn off the computers and go
It's
home.
nearly every government-backed business, essentially, that closes at 5:30, 6 o'clock and disappears, and the building remains empty for the night.
Exactly, and like it strikes me as very, very odd. I mean, you have the infrastructure, but you're kind of you're closing the doors, and there's a whole other world that, you know, like every hub, every bank, every library, every big organization, institution should have artistic stroke commercial director saying, basically, we'll open the doors in the evening and at night time. Who wants to come in? Come in.
And Ireland's becoming an outdoor space now. We are moving everything, coffee shops, everything, bars, pubs, restaurants are all shifting outside. And I know they've changed the rules again now to allowing it to remain outside, pubs remain outside until next year sometime when the pandemic calms down. So is there something we could do? Is there some pressure we could put on somewhere around the country to make sure that stuff does start staying open, or someone guest we could have on and nail it to the post?
This is it.
Yeah, I think that would be good. I think just John was saying there about you know, the multi-use of space. I think that's really key, and that's something we've totally missed, because really we're in the innovation hubs, and we've got an innovation hub in Portarlington as well too. Mary Keogh is the manager there, does a fantastic job.
She does.
You know, and I think that's one of the things that it was actually brought up in the Dáil recently with I think it's Catherine Martin is the
Yes, she is
our minister for the arts or that. But that's one of the things that was raised was that we're not getting enough value out of the innovation hubs if we don't look to bring in the arts community as well too. And particularly it's exactly what you were just alluding to there, like that. Like that's a way to get value for the innovation hub. It's potentially a new revenue stream.
Absolutely.
But it's bringing in new people as well too, you know. So I think that will be particularly it's a good thing to really push, and particularly with the Laois, all the hubs are connected, I think, around here as well.
That's right. Eamon's wearing that hat. He's involved with the Laois Hub Collective.
Super. It's all about the collectives.
It's all about the collectives, all the tribes.
Collectives and collaborations.
All these tribes around Laois getting together and doing incredible stuff. Yeah, I mean, why are these buildings being closed at 5 o'clock in the evening?
And what can we do maybe to push that on around Portlaois particularly, because we'd like a festival as well. Not at the same time as yours, just around the same time.
On a slightly, I mean, on that issue, and to be slightly controversial, we seem to lose a lot of festivals.
We do, yeah, we do. We've had a couple in to disappear.
Yeah, I mean, naming too. I mean, obviously the jazz festival. We won't get into the whys and wherefores. And again, we had the regional round of the Rosa Tralee Festival.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we have to first, number one, import festivals? You're doing it,
Yes.
and you're only up and running a couple of months,
Yeah, we did like a medieval quarter festival though.
and that was great. And long may it continue. But that should be one of many.
Of course, yeah, we shouldn't do one festival a year. We should do multiple festivals every season, every something, you know.
I think the challenge with all those festivals is to make them sustainable.
Yeah,
Yes.
You know, and I think as well, like, you know, with Portarlington, so this is a music festival. It's the first one, the Arts Collective. But I do think it'd be great to bring in the teams that we have in the town. So
Yes.
you've got like Gulliver's Travels, Harking Back to Swift, all the different, the Huguenot past, French was the first language there, like that. And same with Portlaoise as well too.
Yes.
I think that probably is the way, hopefully, to make them kind of become sustainable. If you've got a team that you can really hang on to. Because you know, there's some towns that have made like the Puck Fair and all the rest of that. If you can come up with a good idea, I think that can really sort of, you know, push it on.
Absolutely.
Mark, how do people attend? Do they need tickets to do it online? Just turn up in a day?
So we've got, there's two parts to the festival. So on Friday the 10th, we're going to be down in Circus, and that's the music part. So there's 5 great acts that are coming on. They all have, there's 4 of them are completely local. One of them has another kind of a local connection as well too, through Doc, our cool sound guy. If the guys were to go to the Facebook page for Portarlington Art Collective, we're starting to take people's names already. We're going to be doing fully compliant, so we'll be checking obviously the COVID search when they come in, taking the names. We're looking to have benches as a way. It's a really cool way. I don't know if there was a festival on recent emo and they did that approach. It's a great pods and all the rest. So people come in, get their benches, and they can enjoy the night. In terms of the Saturday and Sunday, that's going to be art exhibitions and workshops. That's going to be down to Parochial Hall. So it was the old English church in the centre of the town, just opposite the market square there. They're getting set up for that. There'll be loads of workshops over the Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be a great time to come in, have a bit of fun. And then on the Sunday, we're really lucky because Dunamaze are actually running, it's an outdoor festival in the market square. There's going to be circus performance type stuff. There's going to be acts and all the rest. So the whole vibe should be really, really just a fun time. Very family focused as well too. And then the music, well, look, you can come and stay as late as we can, I suppose, there.
So you find it all on Facebook. Marky, thank you very much. We're going to get more guests on about Port Art Collective in a couple of minutes' time. We'll be back after this. Right, and we're back. Little moment we have to take it out there. But besides that, we've been joined by 3 new faces to the show, which is going to explain. But it's still about Port Art Collective, so still part and parcel of the whole thing. It's such a big group and big collective of people who are going to do something amazing in December in Portarlington. And we're joined right now by, I'm just going to go around the table. So start here.
David the Butler.
Dave, what do you do?
Artist and illustrator is probably my main gig.
That's just, it's an easy title. Artist and illustrator. Okay, and next?
My name's Dermot O'Kane. I'm handling the music side of the Port Art
And
Collective.
everything technical, I believe.
And everything
as well.
technical, yeah.
And
I'm Seamus Duggan. I'm taking part in the music, and myself and David are putting together a film program of films shot in and around Portarlington.
so this sounds like an amazing event. Now there's now the specialist among it as well. I just want to go straight to the music for a second, okay? Because the music, you're trying to draw in bands from everywhere, along with local bands and international bands. So what kind of bands are you after?
So at the minute, we are focusing on the bands that are kind of from around Portarlington, and most of the bands have some sort of ties to the start of the Port Art Collective. And we have Kim Melia, who's a woodwind instrumentalist, and she's a teacher. And then we have a group of young lads as well, Dopamine, and they're just after winning the next Laois Superstar. So we're delighted to have them come back.
And where are they going to be playing? Where's the band's going to be on?
So we're having it in Solace, the
Right.
Eco Garden Solace. Yeah.
All together, all one after, like a rock
together.
concert.
Yeah. And we're going to be setting it up where hopefully the artists will have the stage set up all lovely. And it should be nice. No, I can't wait.
And in the middle of all this, you're going to do music tuition as well, or a music class.
No, I'm not doing a workshop at the minute.
Okay.
No, I'd be strictly focused on working, making sure all the acts go ahead.
But you do workshops, no?
I teach a little bit of music as well. Yeah. But my main stick will be producing
Right,
music.
okay, so producing
That's how
music.
I got into it. Yeah.
And you're involved in this as well, aren't you, Seamus?
Yeah.
the music
Well, I
element?
got roped in by Mark, which I guess is why it's such a big group, because he just goes around and ropes everybody in. And
You're standing still, you get a job like.
but it's great though. It was just this kind of surprise for me. I never thought we'd be talking about Portarlington Arts Collective and putting on a festival, and just when I went down to the first meeting, I went down to, there was 30 or 40 people there. They were from all sorts of backgrounds. I mean, everything from wood turning to photography to, so there's just this huge energy in the room, a huge amount of people. There was a sense that whatever you do is valid. Everyone can get involved. We're trying to make a place where, everyone can do something. And I also sing in a band and write music. So I put my idea in, and Doc chose the band, fortunately. And
this is exactly it as well. Like, there's so many artists around Portarlington, and you don't know. You have no idea. And like, unless you have a hub or a festival or a thing for you all to come together and work on, you never meet the people, and you all just go to Dublin or you go somewhere else to find all this stuff.
Yeah, because
So
you're
that's
making
our main
films as
hope.
well for this. I mean, this is not just music art, it's visual art to go with it, yeah.
yeah, well, I am making one small film. Hopefully it'll come together. We're also programming a series of films to screen that are all shot in and around Port by, like, Ken Wardrop would be probably the most famous filmmaker from Portarlington, who's made a lot of kind of documentaries that have, some of the most successful documentaries in the country ever, so like His and Hers, for example. But he's
And
also made
Into the
some
West
short.
was shot there. Into the West, which is why it's
Into the West was shot there,
the cinema
yeah, actually.
has a mural on the side of it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, I worked in film for years in Dublin, and I remember that was when I moved to Portarlington. Some of the people, oh yeah, I worked on Into the West down there.
Yeah, the whole town worked on this.
yeah,
The only reason they knew it then.
that was the only reason they knew it. I remember one of the costume designers saying it was the most amazing place. Said Mooney's shop, which used to be on the main street, said, I went in there and there was clothes from every era since the 50s. I was able to buy stuff for costumes because I'm still using them on films.
Straight in. And Seamus, we're going to bring you in as well with the comics.
Dave, first of all, the lad's been very shy there because Doc there, he's part of a hip hop collective, Lemon Pie, and Seamus, of course, selects the films for RT short screens, so that's how he got roped into this. But from my point of view, my background's in comics and graphic novels, and they also run the comic convention in the Dublin Maze Arts Centre every June. Well,
I've been at that.
Very good. So
Yep.
we've done 2 of them, and done 3 of them actually, and obviously last year with COVID and stuff, it didn't happen, but we've been running the podcast, and we had our own creative series there, 10 episodes as well, so we tried to keep the ball running. So that was kind of how I got involved in it, and just the same as the guys, like, just for me it's great to meet everyone, and just kind of, I was blown away by where did these people come. Like, I would have considered myself fairly on the ball of who's around, whatever, and then it's like each person brings these other 4 or 5 people, and like, I had no idea they were here. So that's all, where all the enthusiasm and all comes from everyone. But just from myself and Tracy and Sinead and Adam, who's the graffiti artist ADW, and another artist, Sean Conlon, we're all putting together the workshops, the demos, and the exhibitions over the 2 days in the Parochial Hall. So we've all sorts of artists. Some of them are crafters, some of them are making jewelleries. Some people publish their own books. We've a few kids actually who have books on Amazon and stuff. They're coming as well. There's another GAA guy. Sorry for mentioning the GAA, but there's a great guy called Michael Egan from Portarlington, and he has 2 kids books. Declan Kirby, GAA star as well, so he's coming along as well. And we've a few other ideas that kind of fell through because of COVID and stuff. But look, we'd hope to do something with Nicole Turner, our Olympian. But sadly, we have to, with the restrictions and all, we'll probably have to wait, because we will do something, but down the line. But yeah, we also have an exhibition just heard today of Rebecca Deegan. So there's an artist in Iceland at the minute, from Portlaoise, and she's going to be exhibiting her stuff when she comes back as well. And of course, we have an outdoor circus, which is a bit cool as well. So we have the stage from Music Leach, so we have the sound stage from that. There's a certain name of it, it's gone out of my head. But people may have seen it from the trailer park and Electric Picnic, so that's coming to the square in Portarlington, and there's going to be a few kind of live exhibitions, kind of and I guess dark, there's going to be guys throwing fire and blowing fire and all that stuff. There's going to be stilt walkers. From the comic side of things as well, we've a few cosplayers. So they're the guys get dress up, go around. So we've few local, and we've a few handful of guys coming down from Dublin and stuff. So we hope to have about 5 people. And we have a drag queen from Portarlington coming to it as well. My good friend Chris or Lexi, depending which day and which hour you catch her on. So she's coming along. She's a 7'3" drag queen, so you can't miss her. You might mistake her for being in Stiltwalkers, but she's on her own. So that's part of the fun that we have, and they'll all be interacting with the crowd, and obviously weather dependent as well. Some of it could be inside or outside.
And this is going to be all across Portarlington rather than just...
This is going to be in the square. So there's the square garage right in the middle of the town, which is now closed. So the council's plan for that is to turn that into a museum. So we're quite excited about that as well. So that's kind of where some of the buzz about this group as well. So we're saying this museum, this thing is coming in. So we were like, okay, we're the artists of this in the town. So we want part of this, you know. So there was a development plan and strategy put in place, and I think there's ideas to pedestrianise the street and all this sort of stuff. So we were like, okay, we want hands-on involvement in this. We don't want handed outside of the town.
Sorry, it won't happen for another 2 decades. It'll be fine the way that they come up with these plans.
No, well, the square garage is closed. That's quite moving now. Well, there's a lot of roadworks in the town and stuff for the last over the summer, so like they are gearing up, but I do think it will. Now it could be a year from opening.
But in fairness, you have a natural square in Portarlington, down at the garage there, down at the cinema, the garage, that area. That is a natural, like normal. You could easily close off that area and make it completely empty from traffic.
That's exactly where it is.
Yeah,
so
and we can section off one side so the main street keeps on going up the one-way street, and then we don't even bother any traffic.
Because there is only one street really down that one-way system that leads you right down the centre of the street, which is tiny, and everything feeds into that.
So for those that don't know, the Parochial Hall is right beside the Savoy Cinema with the Into the West mural, and the square garage is right in front of it. You can't miss it, so it's all that corner. So that's where we're taking place there. So all the activities in that corner.
Deadly. That's going to be brilliant then.
Yeah, deadly. Yeah, look, hopefully the weather stays well and all that sort of stuff. But look, we have the inside. We will continue to.
Sure, weather's weather. This is an outside country now. We're all okay now. Yeah. So, what kind of films have been made in Portarlington?
Well, there's been
or have been made. So I said they're already made.
Well, I'm still exploring it, but there's been a lot of music videos. There's a producer, Carla Mooney, who's based in the town, who's worked on all sorts of stuff, from the Sparks documentary, and she's made a music video for them, but also some music videos. There's a couple of really nice music videos shot by a director called James Fitzgerald. Is genuinely one of the real up and coming directors in Ireland at the moment. So what I found out with Carla as well, Carla worked with a massive DJ producer called Diplo and another act called Major Lazer. And they're incredibly world renowned.
I know who Major Lazer is, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So Carla Mooney in Portarlington and her brother Delman produced these music videos, and I was like, what? There's
hugely talented people have to live somewhere.
Yeah, they do.
It just happens to be in Portarlington.
But they're still there. They're still knocking around, and there's connection to Solis as well with the guys as well. So no, look, we're just kind of showcasing some of their earlier work and a few pieces that we know. Like I made a film back in 2010 as well, People's Park. We'll have a show of that for them and stuff. Probably deserves to be left in the drawer, but
most of my YouTube videos are made around Portarlington in some way or another, because they're all about cars. So I make films about reviewing cars, but in the background there's shot people go, that's my house, or I'm not a place. I've seen that place before. It's funny how it comes out that way. In 2022, what are we looking forward to? Do you think there'll be another event? We'll do something spring event maybe?
Hopefully more events that we would love to run, see how successful we get on with this, and then next year we will know a lot of the hurdles and stuff that are going to face us, so we will be way better geared to run this festival this time next year. But like you're saying, hopefully there'll be other people who get inspired and can join the Port Art Collective, and hopefully we run a couple of different festivals per season. That'd be great. All right.
Have you thought about it expanding beyond Portarlington? About moving into another town, trying something else? Spreading it out, making it bigger.
We've kind of trying to start it here first so that we can bring it to someone else. Let's work together before we go too far. Yeah.
That's a good way to be, though.
But I think it's a great chance as well for Portarlington to become to help with the revitalization that's going on, because you look at places that become associated with arts and stuff. A lot of artists are looking to move out of Dublin, I know, because they can't afford to live there. They go to places like West Cork or Leitrim or Berlin or somewhere like that. It wouldn't take very many of them to say, oh, look, Portarlington has it seems to have an art scene going on. Let's look at places down there. And so you kind of feed.
But there is a scene. I mean, there is a scene attached to the arts in general. I mean, look at Galway from a few years ago, not necessarily now so much, but years ago, Galway was the hub of every kind of art. Everything happened in the streets, and it all spilled out in the streets for years. It still does to some degree. There's a kind of a street performers festival and stuff they do there too, And I know that's happened here too. We've had a street performer festival here in Portlaoise. So is there some way you could expand that out to have a sort of a spring festival next year, maybe a welcome into spring or the clock change or something like that could happen?
Absolutely, there's all sorts of opportunities to do either as a festival or, individual artworks, like to do, let's say, more graffiti in Portarlington, make it more a part of the town, get multiple people working on that, to do music events, to publish books of photography, to do, that a collective can do anything. It doesn't have to be just festivals. Like there's a lot of different talents, some of them which suit festivals and some of them which may suit others.
Then you have Sulis as a meeting room as well, which is kind of handy.
And Sulis is great, yeah. I mean, there's
it looks artistic even.
Yeah.
It has a kind of feel, it reminds me of Camden Lock in the 80s.
Yeah.
Kind of, it's sort of...
So I think, I just think from our point of view, there's the farmers market in Sulis, so I think that'll be something that we'd be visiting as a group. So it could be a spot that the art group could have that something could do separate to the artist. Could be something, even a shared table within the group or things like that. So that's kind of the idea. Just from other things as well, we were hoping to have like life drawing sessions and groups of artists. So like we'll have like a upstairs room in the pub or something like that, and we'll all get together and have a chat, and we might invite a guest outside of the area as well. So that's part of it as well. So Doc there has loads of music friends or whatever. Hey, bring them down, showcase their work. They might have a CD, have a chat to us, tell us about your process. And the same with myself and artist community as well. Just kind of comic book artists or writers or a few people like that. So that'd be the idea, that maybe we have a monthly kind of teams thing like that, and it'll grow organically from the group as well. And yeah, we will be inviting people outside the group.
You can have Laois talks at the festival as well.
Absolutely.
We could do a podcast edition of the festival.
There could be a good chance of recording it as well, and just have that kind of it could be like a panel discussion in a relaxed kind of setting, that sort of stuff. And just for myself, I've been blown away by the people that I didn't know, and I'd be fairly in the know, if you like. But and it's great to see, and even there's a few music groups and a few. Obviously, there's youngers coming through, and I've been involved with the Make Port group as well, and there's some seriously talented kids around the place. Like I met a guy in one of my workshops a little kid of 8 years of age who published his own book. It's on sale on Amazon. I brought him in, showed him to the kids, and they're like, he's done it already, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's people like that that Make Port group has been kind of fostering, and kind of been in the group with Doc and sound design. So one of the other projects that we have in the Make Port space is this kind of motion comics that we're playing around with. So what we're doing there is we're getting kids to make their own comics, write their own comics, but actually kind of video edit them and do little bits of animation, some sort of kind of sound production. They do their own sound effects and stuff like that. So it's like a comic put on the video timeline, where the kids could be even dressing up, making their own costumes, building their own sets, and kind of using green screen and kind of using the technology we've seen in Zoom and stuff, but actually doing it in a creative kind of way as well. So there's all this kind of potential, and
so it'll be ongoing stuff.
Ongoing, yeah. So we're hoping the kids will kind of take ownership of it. So this is the project we want to do, help us with it, and then we bring all the different talents in from what we know and our friends and stuff as well. So that's kind of part of it as well, you know. And
Dermot, from the tech, tell me, where can we find out more about this? Is there other Facebook pages we can go to and find out more about it?
More about my own music stuff?
Your own music?
My own music.
What you can do, yeah.
I was a producer. My name is Doc Beats on Instagram, and then that's got all my own music. And as you were told, I'm from a group called Lemon Pie as well.
Yeah.
And that's just a group of my own friends, and that's what started me doing shows and getting interested. And then they were my first people I met in Port that were into doing arts, and we thought we were the only ones. And so now, it's a couple of years down the line, we're meeting all these people, we're getting chances to run festivals, and then hopefully, like you're saying, the kids that are coming up, they have this other direction to go, and they can come to our little functions and come to the festivals and aspire to play at the festivals, and then they'll be running them in a couple of years, and that's the way we want to see it going as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Pass on the torch.
Well, we'll try and put links to everything we possibly can in the show notes belong to this as well. So everybody who's on, we'll try and get links from everybody before you all go. So don't wander off to give down the links. Yeah. But is there more places we can find out on Facebook about Port Art Collective, the festival itself, for information on what's going to happen on each day?
Well, the Port Art Collective Facebook page is really where they're releasing the information.
So everything's
as it comes.
on Facebook.
This is we're building this as we go along.
Good
This
stuff.
has been a remarkably kind of quick
Kind of turnaround. There's
turnaround.
there's an Instagram page as well, so Port Art Collective on Instagram.
Spreading already. See the
There
Instagram,
we
it's
go.
like a little virus going across it too. Lads, thank you very much for coming in and spreading the word. We'll try our best to keep in touch with you over the next couple of weeks before that festival.
Can I mention one more thing?
Yes, of
just
course.
Before we go off, just when we were in the setup of doing the festival, I was in contact with one of my friends. He's a comedian. His name's Terry Norman, and he does gigs with the Three Books Left, the lads from the Hardy Books. And they were coming down to play a show on the Saturday. And then just with all COVID regulations and stuff, we had to pull that. But they're still playing in the Anvil on the Sunday night. So that's the 12th of December.
Right, yeah.
So if anyone wants to come down and see the Hardy Books and Terry
it's
Norman
a festival
offer a
weekend.
comedy, you know what I'm saying? It's all over the town now.
No,
so.
it's spread. See, I told you it was going to be bigger before it even starts. It's going now turning
growing as
it's a
we
festival weekend.
talk, yeah.
What we even
It's
know.
happening already. Lads, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much for having us.
Cheers. Thanks.
Okay, so we heard about collaborations there, as this has sparked up out of nowhere within Portarlington. I mean, literally, a group of like-minded, you heard even the conversation said 50 people in a room, bang, to have a festival out of it, right? With plans to bring that festival much further along. We're talking about 2022 and other things they want to do. So there must be something that can be learned from that as business people that we can do in this part of the country or somewhere else, other collaborations and groups we get together in. What do you reckon?
Yeah, listen, we're missing out on a massive thing. Like, because of the pandemic and all, people are moving back to rural Ireland and rural areas as such. But the only problem we have is we've no bases, we've no locations that they actually can go and meet or go and portray their art or, you know, play musical instruments or even to talk to like-minded people. And in creating these bases, I think it's going to work and help likes of mindfulness, wellfulness, social inclusion, interaction, things like that. But it also gives them an outlet that they can actually go and talk to like-minded people, collaborate, create these events like what's happening in Portarlington, and have something that could possibly work for 12 months a year, but use these rural areas likes of Abbeleaks 1 month, we could have Dunamore, we could have Rathdowney, but create that bit of a, you know, fire in the belly for the locals. Like, give them, even we call it the older generation that are like, we can only do so much, but in a room together with enough like-minded people, with enough energy, enough drive, like, we can create.
Well, they've proven that, 'cause they got old and young in that mix. I mean, the mix of ages there. The musician, young man, he's very young compared to who's around him, and he's keeping up with what they're doing. So,
but they have a base though. Like you said, the base was Solace. They started off with 20 people for a bite to eat, and it already started up to 50.
Yeah.
And once you have that base, and once people know that they can go in, park up, and go in and meet like-minded people, it'll start to work. It'll be a knock-on effect, like domino effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the crucial thing for me is
Mr. Negative.
No, Eamon, no. But what struck me about the group,
Voice of reality.
well, no, what struck me about the group is their approach. I think it can be very easily replicated, and I think it's the more organic way and more sustainable way to go forward, because. Like we were saying off camera, like you'll have this festival and it happens for 2 or 3 days and that's it for a year. But they're meeting every week. They're planning. And the crucial word I took from all those gents coming over from Port is sustainability. They want to be able to sustain it, not going from grant to grant. And that's a huge step forward. They can see where they want to go. So it's not a case of, let's put on a festival for a weekend and then, okay, we'll meet next year and put on another festival same weekend.
A festival committee type thing where you'd have a group of people who just drive it forward all the time and then it gets bogged down in its own group.
Yeah, not knocking committees, but I mean the fact that it's a collective.
Plus, they're all specialist areas.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, one has to do with music. There's a guy doing with art. There's that, you know, and they're specialists in those locations as well. That must play an effect in the group.
But they're also touching into like areas that they're not qualified in or not done about because they've got an interest and they see a knock-on effect. Like realistically, to be honest, like a lot of these actually maybe need to be run from a business point of view. Is right? How can we create it that it can be, you know, create its own revenue that we can actually add to it. We can give back. We can create events and spaces. Like we're the electric picnic base of Ireland. Like we have an area where all these local performers can go in and play. Why can't we find locations in around Laois that, like, I have no problem giving up this hub as a space. I've walls free and empty. I can put art on it, no problem. We have football coming in here. I have no problem giving up that space. I have no problem coming in and having a meeting.
But sustainability can't be given up. There has to be I think as business guys, there has to be a point where eventually it starts to generate some kind of revenue on its own.
Yeah.
So it can sustain itself then. Then it becomes a long-term investment.
That's where you have the bigger group.
Yeah.
The group is so diverse. You're not looking at running one festival for one weekend. I can run my festival this weekend, you can run your festival next weekend, and there's enough of them that there's something for everyone in the audience being anyone around Portarlington or anyone in Laois, and it gives everyone something to do. But the lads are saying, can it be replicated everywhere or done 1 month in one place and 1 month, say 1 month Portarlington, another one in Abbeyleix, but why not run them simultaneously? Because if I'm living in Abbeyleix, I might not necessarily travel to Portarlington. Now, they could be different. You could have jazz music going on in Abbeyleix and you could have Irish trad going on in Portarlington.
Or like a Scarecrow festival, which does happen now.
And I'll go where I want to go. And there's enough diverse options. We have lots and lots of festivals in this county, and we've lots of quirky small festivals. We have the big festivals like the Scarecrow and like Electric Picnic. We have the Twin Trees, the art festival out in Ballinackill. But they're not joined up, and they're reliant, apart from probably the Electric Picnic, they're reliant on funding. So they'll only do it once a year, apply for the funding, run the festival. But if you have a group like the lads have in Portarlington, I think they're inspirational for groups all around the county.
But truly, right, the thing is, right, if you look at all these festivals, they all have food at it. They all have drink at it.
Yeah.
They're a tourist attraction. So you're hitting different avenues and different things.
Yeah.
And why they all can't come together, the tourist area, the food and drink avenue, even the event space and all that, and go, right, let's combine whatever revenue stream we have. Let's make this successful and let's make it grow. So in other words, like, I agree and disagree about having, say, 3 or 4 on in different areas in one time. Like, people, if it's good enough and done well and promoted well, people want to go to that one location and they'll travel to it, whether, like, we have the town link, we have bus routes, the whole lot. We just need it all to work together and literally gel. And once it gels, then, like, it'll grow and grow rapidly.
Well, the big word has to be collaboration, hasn't it?
Yeah, but that's the scary word at times of people, whether you're in the public or private sector.
Absolutely.
But sit down, throw the ideas on the wall, come together. The one thing we can always say, try it once, and if it doesn't work, you can always say, at least we did. At least we did try.
For sure.
Yeah,
John.
The other big thing that I took away from the wonderful gentleman coming over from Port was the sheer size of the group, the skill set in there. I mean, basically, they're so talented and such a big group that no bureaucracy is going to stop them. And of course, the key for them is they have the anchor in Solace.
Yeah.
And of course, if you look around every village, every town in Laois, there are buildings that come 5-6 o'clock in the evening are locked up, and they're sitting there idle. Yeah. They're sitting there idle until 9 o'clock the next morning, which is just the height of madness.
But there's community halls that are the same thing. I mean, the old days of drama clubs and stuff, rehearsing in community halls, that sort of stuff doesn't happen as much anymore. It's just they all lock up now.
But why can't people be like, stand back and look at their space and go, right, how do we utilise, like, even the likes of alleyways, that are lit up, the alleyway down beside, I know it's parking all beside the credit union in Portlaoise, that you could actually put some sort of wall art in there, and anyone walking down that they can get into a certain time, then the gates close automatically. And then the likes of, down beside PJ Cavanagh's there, he's got a little archway too, put in like a small little like a pop-up shop of art on the wall, and then all he's do is when he's going late at night, 10, 11 o'clock, just close the doors over as such. but stand back and use what space is there and go, right, how do we add value? How do we be creative in this? Because the people that are creating this, they are the creative ones. But from a business point of view, is like, how do we get people moving? If you have it in the likes of a pub or a restaurant or food, people in time might come in and, eat the food or go drinking and look at the art as well.
It's
so it's a win-win.
enhancing their space as a business. It's enhancing the space, and it will bring me, Joe Public, in to look and say what's on the wall, and therefore I might buy something from that artist, or at the very least I'll sit down and have something to eat.
It's the vibe though, as well as having the art around you, right? It's the whole kind of, the space around you makes it look cool.
Yeah.
But if you can create that energy in a room, especially with food, because we're all food lovers like, in this country, and you're in there and we discussed this before about covering the main street, and I think it's still a good idea to bring likes of food and drink. And
Waterford has a covered square.
Yeah,
the whole square is a massive.
But you can have music on each end of the thing, a busker or someone, the musician on each end that don't actually interfere with each other, and you can have the likes of small little kiosks as well for pop-up shops or creative space, like for people selling products and things like that.
Doesn't the pop-up, I love the idea of pop-up shops, right? I love the idea of all that kind of stores, external stores on the street, but it always requires someone in a county council situation to give approval for these things. That inevitably runs aground of some objection somewhere.
Here we are, John's in.
Well, again, because of the Port Collective, the Arts Collective there, it's a wonderful example. They can sidestep all that.
Yeah, because private industry,
Because it's private, because with the skill set in that group, I mean, they have a pop-up shop straight away. They could do it in the morning with CDs, with whatever DVDs, with postcards, with printed T-shirts, with all that. And they don't have to travel outside their own group, never mind travel outside the county. It's there. And basically you have people like, for example, David, and they're successful publishers. And it makes sense for them. Okay, guys, we've like with 60 people in the group. We have like 3, 4, 5 published authors. Okay, we have people who have done X, Y, and Z with music. Okay, let's sell our T-shirts, our books, our CDs, our magazines, whatever it is. And basically, even if one person every 3 or 4 weeks has to look after the pop-up shop,
you could run it like a co-op.
You run it like the co-op, because the problem I see, and not the problem, but I think the reality is we've too many committees. Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against committees.
It's old-fashioned though, right? Committee, sorry.
It is, because for a younger generation, like I'm looking around the county and there's incredibly great work going on. I mean, like tidy towns groups especially. We've had a great result in Portarlington in the last recent months. We're the cleanest town in Ireland. Again, we have to repeat that and we have to be proud of it. I'm incredibly proud of that. Abbelikes there won their award, again, thanks to the tidy towns groups. But crucially, these committees have to sit back now and look around who's in the room at these committee meetings. Do they have anyone in the room under 50?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And Bob, you picked up on it. Okay,
the diverse age there.
The diverse ages.
But they get it. I mean, I don't mean they necessarily get it off the top of their head. They understand from the get-go what they were looking for, and none of them are doing for profit. So none of them set out in their mind to make money or bring in a business or have a... Because the more business questions I asked them, the less they were interested in that part. Yeah. It was more about the actual festival part. So
the creativity.
It's the creativity in it, right? Is that what's driving their festival, what makes their festival feel totally different than the rest of the festivals that start off here, like the medieval quarter festival we had here, which is great success.
It's a great success.
But it felt like a really business thing. It felt like something we're just going down the street to buy things in a shop.
But the major thing they actually said at the start was they actually had to come together as a group to try to get some funding and support. So that shows, strength in numbers. But it shouldn't be that way. You should have a space or a location that people actually can come in and go, right, this is what I want to do. This is what I have available. This is where I want to be and all that stuff. And they go, right, you need to go over to a base, a location, to go, they specialize in that area. Here's a contact number. And see how it goes. If you don't get anywhere, get back to me.
But there's the private industry working fast.
You're giving people direction. And like 3 things people want in life is, well, especially in business or any startup, is contacts, direction, and they want to literally have someone they can generally talk to and go. Like, where are we going? Where is the advice coming from?
Yeah, it's a very lonely process, and it's nice to have someone to bounce an idea and just have the conversation of, do you think this is a good idea? I think that group will have that going forward because they are led by their passion, and I think as a person going into that group looking for a bit of advice or looking to be involved, there will be someone, because of their diverse ages and talents, there will be someone for everyone to talk to and get advice from and bring them in and get them involved in it.
And that's important for rural Ireland, because there's
Absolutely.
nothing outside of, we have a big town here, right, Portlaoise. Even in Portarlington, it's a sizable enough town, right? But if you're in, I don't know, Clonaslee or, further out where it's a smaller village situation, you've had pubs closed for months. The social dancing stuff, that's gone. That died, right? That's not coming back anytime soon, as far as I can see.
Yeah.
Nightclubs are nowhere to be seen, I think. So there's nothing to focus on.
They need
other
new
than
outlets.
work.
They all need new outlets. They
Yeah.
all need to, like, even to try something new they've never tried. You just need that base. And like, just going back to what you're saying there about likes of pop-up shops, there was a concept that was done in Australia in Westfield Shopping Centre where they got 400 square meters of a space. They didn't know what to do with it. They actually put in small little potted shops, like literally enough, I'd say 10 foot by 15 foot. They weren't massive. And then they put in a cafe. And then they put in a kind of a lot of art on the wall and stuff. And they made a real kind of fancy and all that. So the thing is, you're only meant to be there for 1 year. And then once your business did well, you were actually meant to go into the main shopping centre and you would have got an outlet. But because it worked so well and people had such a vibe and such everything going on, they didn't want to move. And then, so what they ended up doing was building that space bigger. Yeah. So literally the coffee shop was, you actually had to walk through these shops and all this art and the whole lot to get your coffee. Then you had to walk all the way back through another way to go sit down and enjoy your coffee. But it works so well that they're actually going to replicate it all over Australia and now in America in a lot of places. Yeah. Why can't we find shop units that are not being utilised, put in small little retail spaces, let them do a shared cost on the electricity, the insurance, so they're lowering the risk. Then they have someone else there that are in the same situation they are to bounce ideas off and collaborations. And then once they kind of get that feel of being a business owner and they know that it's not going to cost me 1,000 or 1,200 quid a month on rent, that I'm in a collective as such. And there's another way of putting it is a business collective to minimize cost, minimize risk, and to build up your brand. Yeah. But like what we could have then is the likes of government bodies or anything like that coming in and literally advising them and kind of talking to them and and you can actually create events within these spaces too, like.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be encouraging and facilitating young businesses, young entrepreneurs?
And gets the town's energetic.
Absolutely.
And gets the local rural areas energetic by going, well, that space was empty for years. Now look at it with all the bright colour and the young people.
And getting people involved.
Yeah.
People
especially simple things like
money.
bookshops and coffee shops being in the same location, or a tattoo parlour with a barber in it. I don't know if that works out, but you know what I mean? There's complementary things that happen around.
But like the great example, and I hate having to do this, but there's a great example in Dublin of this, the George's Street Arcade.
Yeah.
George's Arcade. And you basically go down one side, it's LPs, books, whatever it is, postcards, whatever, all the kind of stuff that I love browsing through. And then off to the side, you go around, there's more of the same, hallelujah, heaven. And then you have places where you can sit down, have a coffee, something to eat. It works.
Yeah.
It works.
Even car boot sales have died.
Yeah.
And they're outside, if you know what I mean. So
Yes.
even that doesn't.
Yes.
There's all kinds of things that could be done, that could be easily collaborated on, that could happen every single week and in different locations.
The largest outdoor market in Europe, just outside Amsterdam. And it's a combination of all of that outdoor, indoor eating areas, car boot sale kind of a vibe, selling anything from carpets to clothes to music. And you have bands on corners, you have bands inside, you have people selling their farm produce. It's all local and it is packed. They have 6 or 7 car parks for customers to park and it's full every single weekend of the year.
But people want an excuse to be distracted. They want to go off somewhere that covers everything from food, drink, spend the money. They want to come home that evening going, bought a load of crap, don't know what I needed for it, but I enjoyed it.
And they don't need to cook dinner.
It's a destination.
And
Coming home as mammy, not needing to cook dinner or clean up after the dinner.
And the kids are fast asleep as well.
But
yes.
the key is having that destination.
Yeah.
Solis are on track. They're probably
Solis,
way ahead of schedule.
Solis will facilitate this.
They're a destination
For sure.
Already. For
It's
people.
a real case of build it and they will come.
Yes. Yeah. But they were very clever how they did it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's this not this kind of shabby industrial chic.
It
if
looks
you know
exactly like that
Brutalist
market
art
in
sort of.
Amsterdam.
Yes.
And the lads had been and had looked at the market in Holland when they were doing it and they were putting in the plans. Because I had the conversation with them. It just had that same vibe and they said that it was exactly what they were trying to go after. But I also think they've got room to expand.
Yes. But you've hit on it, Trudy. They went outside of their comfort zone. They went outside of the country,
Yeah.
and they looked at best practice.
Yeah.
Something else, yeah. instead of
Because
normal.
unfortunately, like I was on about committees, unfortunately, we have a situation. Eamon could speak more coherently on this and in more depth on this. We seem to have, for example, we have a lot of co-working hubs sprouting up around the country. But again, it seems to be copying the co-working hub that's in the neighbouring town or the neighbouring village. Now, I don't know, and again, this is the key, I don't know going forward how sustainable that is. You're basically copying what's down the road for fear of missing out.
But you're just kind
FOMO.
of, in some ways, you're sort of hoping that what's going to turn up to your space will make it work, rather than building it for a proper purpose or saying that we want to choose this, this, and this, and that's
Yeah.
going to make it work.
But the
here.
thing is,
Yes.
no one does their, like, I don't feel a lot of people do their homework. So I've been looking at 2 or 3 other hubs and helping them kind of design, you know what's right for the area and how they can bring in people and all that stuff. And I've been to one there in a neighbouring county, and they had they had a lovely canal down the side of it. They had a park there. They had the playground was further up, and they had this kind of an old farmhouse type building. And then up the road, there's actually a tourist area, and I'm literally staring out the window and going, "Don't waste the money on the building. Where you're going to make the money is on the outside." So bring in the whole likes of the river going by, the old medieval walls, and then incorporate, like, put food here, which means you have the park, and then you've got the likes of the playground. But straight away, knocked on the head. No, we'd spend the money in the building, and they're actually putting co-working space on the 3rd floor, which means I'm like going, like, it's hard enough to get up one place there, but trying to get up a second one to where you're going, and then you have to go to the toilet and you go for coffee and all that, it can be a headache. So you have to look at what's in your area. You have to look at the population, the traffic flow, what works, instead of just going for the office person. Who else can we bring in? Can we bring in tourism? Can we bring in events? Can we bring in spaces? Can we bring
What's
in
there already?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's how
what's
hubs
already
are
happening,
created. In the cities, you will have we call it a hot desk area. So it's open plan and there's people there. But in Dublin or any of the bigger cities, you need to know who the guy is sitting across from you and how they can benefit and help your business. In rural Ireland, they don't give a damn. They don't want to know who you are. They just want to get on, get their job done. If they chat to you, they'll chat to you over coffee, and then they'll move on. But eventually they start to let down their barriers and all that, and then they'll start to open up and talk to the people. But in rural Ireland, they want their own space. And listen, everyone to their own and such. But all the big cities are creative and they've got energy, but they've got a flow of young people and the older generation kind of coming in and trying to mix.
And they've got the population.
Yep.
And if I'm in the big city and I'm just up there for the day and I need to do work, I could sit down at one of these desks and just do an afternoon's work. We're probably not looking at that audience.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, the other thing that struck me, it could be rural Ireland. We're just obsessed with bricks and mortar. We're obsessed with bricks and mortar, but the point is, it's the people. It's always about the people. It doesn't matter what business you're in, what your brand is. It's about the people. And basically, you can build it 3-4 floors, and you can have your hub on the 4th floor or on the 1st floor. But I mean, it's the people. The people are the key. I mean, what I took away from the group in Portarlington is you've wide range of skills and basically different ages and just the energy in the room.
And I think that's what's going to make that group
Yes.
succeed over the rest of the individuals rather than just the thing.
On a personal point of view, sorry, Bob, from a tourism point of view, that is a location. They've given me a destination. And I can bring tourists and my guests to have lunch and do a workshop. I could liaise with different people from their group and say, I have a group coming next summer or a family coming next summer and they want to do a workshop in whatever. They want to learn how to play Irish musical instruments. And the lads could do a workshop and they could have lunch in Solace. So it is definitely a go-to and a destination.
Thing, yeah. Well, anyway, hopefully we'll learn from what they're about to do and we'll take part in it along the way.
And maybe other people might get involved as well.
Maybe they will. We've one more guest to get through, so we'll be back after this. really exciting stuff from Portarlington there. I mean, that's a huge event. We'll cover more of that as we get closer to the event. But right now, we're joined by a local businessman who is a marketing specialist. You're like a brand. Just introduce yourself, because it's a big thing you do. I mean, this is branding from end to end, right?
So yeah, my name is Arpad, and I'm delighted to be here. Thank you very much. Specialist, yeah, maybe that's a strong word, but I do marketing. So my business is called Pandora Marketing Solutions, and from the name you can suspect that we
opening
are
a Pandora's box of
Pandora's
stuff.
box, yeah. And we tend to think of ourselves. It's a three person team, and we tend to think about ourselves as a one-stop shop for small to medium-sized businesses who ever need any branding products, such as it can be from your general vehicle signage to shop fronts to your uniforms, even websites, social media. So it's really a one place that you can get most of your things that you need.
And do people come to you before a business started, when a business already started, when it's long since up and running? At what point did it think about coming to your direction?
Well, it's
you have to pick up the pieces of somebody else's problems.
Well, you see, full time I'm into this business in this type of the business because Pandora Marketing was registered in 2015, so 6 years in the business. But this particular part of the business, actually, Eamon, if you remember, 2 years ago we had a conversation when I was looking to rent space.
Yeah.
And
you never moved in.
I never moved in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel ashamed now.
Not
I
that you
moved to the
hold it
neighbor,
against him.
No.
to the neighbors in just across the street, but couldn't go too far. So, in that type of business where we can actually produce everything in house, and we have the machinery, we have the staff, and all that. It's from last year September. So we are a very young business at this stage, I'd say, and I can tell you that only from the last 2 months I can see that we will hopefully survive for the coming couple of months, because obviously when you're a startup you're counting in months. You can't really well, if you're lucky. I mean, sometimes when I started and I was alone, I was counting in days, weeks and such. So
Hours, seconds nearly.
so, yeah
We've all been there.
when you just
Depends
get
on
when you get the order and you're thinking 9 o'clock in the morning, well, how am I going to pay for the rent or for the for the expenses, and then 12 o'clock somebody pops in with an order and I'm saved for another 2 days. So,
Especially when your client decides he's going to need a 30-day credit.
Yeah.
yeah
Then you go, no, that wasn't built into the
Well,
project.
30 days is not too bad. When you get 90 days and you still have to ring, that's when it's getting, and from the bigger ones.
Yeah. But it is always the bigger ones to do that, though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oh,
They
yeah.
just don't.
The little businesses always instantly
Yeah,
pay.
they pay
They're
up
always,
front
they're
sometimes.
always
yeah.
go by. But like the other thing talking about is, since the pandemic, more and more businesses have said, right, we need to have more of a digital footprint. We need to be more online. The only issue and problem is like everything in Ireland. Who do we go to? Who are the best? Who's going to give us the, like, being realistic, what we, like, as a business owner, we all want to go to the one-stop shop, and you offer a one-stop shop. You cover all from websites to graphic design to web design to even literally putting the graphics on your vehicle or on the front of your shop. And the one thing we all need, like from a business point of view, is we all need to know who's out there, who's the right person to go to, what sort of service we're going to get. Because a lot of people, like a lot of us, we go in thinking we know what we want. We haven't a clue what we want, and that's why we always say that, like, you create something, and then when you do create it, we're like, oh, that's actually nice. Can we just change the color? At least from there, you have a stepping stone. You know, right? We can build from this, and then you can literally go, right. We can create, instead of like a lot of the small business that go, right, oh, it's going to be a big cost, big outlay. Have you created an avenue to make it like affordable? Let's say an upfront payment, and then maybe a sort of a payment system over a time period, because there's always going to be a returning customer.
Absolutely. Like, I think the most important thing for small businesses or even a one-man band or people who are only starting up is the budget, right? They have restrictions where to spend the money and how much they spend. So I have at the moment, I'm in a lucky position to spend time with everybody who is a customer, who is a client. And we can really sit down, or I can visit them on their premises if they have already one. And we can have a discussion. We can have a look together. I can offer them packages, so deals that, listen, the most important thing for you now is to use maybe the free options out there. So such as social media. Put on a good Facebook picture. That's very important. Have your contact details there. Have a Google business account, because that's for free. And at this day and age, I mean, more I think there's very, very small amount of people who doesn't have a smartphone with internet connection straight away in their pocket. And if they need a service, if they need somebody, they will Google it or they will search it on Bing. I don't know who uses Bing, but anyway, what I'm trying to say is that you have to have your name out there. And this is where it's important to, if you don't know how to do it yourself, like obviously you don't have to be an expert, but then find somebody who can help you with it. And this is where we come into picture. I can sit down with you. I can talk you through the process. If you want to do it yourself, that's no problem. We're going to charge you a small fee for a Facebook picture, because editing pictures is something that not everybody wants to learn. I mean, you have to put in the hours to make it right.
Takes time to make it look
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I mean,
Definitely
you can
takes
do
an
it
expert,
obviously because you have Canva. You have many, many good free software out there, but it takes time. Like you can build your own website on Wix or any other Squarespace and such, but it takes time and dedicated, focused time. It's not like that you're going to sit down and you're going to do it properly in one afternoon.
But you just touched on it there. And I've been in this boat where I try to do everything. I try to be the salesperson, the administrator, the web designer,
You're in
the
the
graphic
same
designer.
boat.
And
Yeah.
I literally had to stop one time because I was getting nowhere. I was
Yeah.
losing out on my strength, which was sales,
Your
and
head
I was
is just
getting nowhere.
spinning.
So what I
It's-
literally sat back to do is I actually had to get a family member to sit down with me and go, right, those two can go to that person, those three can go to that person. And in doing so, my business actually sped up. I actually reached where I wanted to push it. I got there quicker. And that's because I was blind. I was always about the shilling and, where can I cut money and where can I save money? And in doing so, I actually lost money.
Yes.
But if I went to the right channels and the right people, I would have sped this whole process up and go, right, I would have reached my results quicker.
It's very good that you mentioned this, because actually our tagline now changed recently from your partner in business to let's grow together. And I think this is very important because this is what I really want. This is my vision, my mission statement, that I really want to help to grow we grow together. Because when we speak, when you have a project in your mind and we sit down and we speak about it, then we're going to have ideas together, and then we're going to work on it if we are on the same page. Because sometimes it happens that we don't think the same way, or what I can offer to you is not enough. It's not what you need, not at the right time, not at the right moment. And then you just find somebody else, which is fair enough. I mean, there is a lot of business for everybody. And just going back to delegation, because you kind of mentioned delegation. I was in the same boat, that I was trying to do as much as I could myself, because it's a new machine, it's a new equipment, and Jesus, God forbid somebody touches it in the wrong way and it's broken, and then you can't afford
And
it.
there's not enough hours a day for you to get everything done. And then you realize you're doing an 80-hour week and you're only earning a 20-hour payment. Like.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
Because I mean, obviously at the start, that 20 hours or 20 euro per hour, you just put it into wherever you have to put it to, get it back.
You never return.
To
Nobody taking a
reinvest it.
salary.
And where I was trying to get to is that you really need people, and you have to learn to trust them, okay? Because it's hard when it's your baby, because every business that you do, we all know, it's very hard to build it up, and it's like literally tears and hard work. And when you get to a point where it's starting to go, you don't really want to let loose, and you're afraid that you're going to lose what you have already. But with a certain, it's like you can always learn how to do these. Maybe you can trust with a little bit of task somebody, and then you can expand on it as you go forward.
Yeah.
And this is where it's important to get the experts in, or whoever knows what they're doing. They have like a good background on the industry that they're in, such as maybe my company. We had many successful projects. We had some clients who really got from A to Z everything from us. So that's literally from their shop front signage to the uniforms and all, even website. But I mean, as I said, you will get my advice, and then you can decide which suits you. Are you there yet? Do you want a different type of a package or approach? And that's where we can be.
But isn't that the challenge, I think, for any small business right now, particularly if you're a lone gunman out there doing your own thing, trying to make it, you want to expand.
Yeah.
Know you need to market.
Yes.
You also need to know that there's a social media market and there's this other market that you can buy. They're two kind of nearly distinct markets, right? So you can buy social media to some degree, but it doesn't really work usually. You can buy some time. You can also buy Facebook ads. You can buy those other end of stuff. most people don't actually, most older business owners particularly don't know where to start with that. They just don't. They give it to Jimmy, who works he has a mobile phone, right? So he's able to do it.
That's a good
now.
start, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where it starts.
Or the young people, they know how to do it. Hand it to him,
give
he'll
it
get
to
me
the
on
young
it.
kids,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they don't really allocate a budget or put
They
any
don't.
sort of effort to
and,
that.
And to be honest with you, when I started this business in 2015, the sole purpose was to do websites, because I've seen so many established businesses had no presence whatsoever online, nothing.
Not even a
And
homepage.
Not even a
Yeah.
homepage, not even a Google business page where you can just by a touch of a button.
You touched
call
on that
it.
before, the Google business page thing.
Yes.
Just before you go off that subject, if you're not registered on Google Business, you're a small business, but particularly at a physical location. If you sell food, you sell books, you sell something else, and you're not registered there, you're insane. Because I literally
losing
get
out.
to every new town for a meeting with somebody. You walk outside, you go, I get a bit of lunch, Google Maps. The first thing I open is Google
Exactly.
Maps to look at the restaurants in the area, right? And I pick the top one and I go there.
Yeah, whatever you need these days, you just search for it, and then if you find it, you'll go there, which is the closest one. And I think it's as you said, it's mental if you don't use it.
If you're not doing
it's
it, you're
free.
crazy, yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's, it's,
And
yeah,
like
it's there.
the other thing with, I think it's missing out in every town, not just Laois, like and our county is Laois. We were just talking about earlier about having bases for likes of instrument, or for people to come to and collaborate and talk and all that. We still actually don't have a base that even for a startup or a small business actually can come into, and that literally go, right, you know, you can sit there and go, what do you want? What do you need? And they go, well, I don't know what I want. And you kind of go, you know, tell us about your business. You can check it up online and go, well, sorry, you're not online. You're not on Google. You haven't got a Facebook page. You haven't got a website page.
The
And they're
basics, you
yeah, and they're kind of going,
Yeah.
oh, what do I do? And you're like, going, well, here's a list of local people that actually specialize in these areas, you know, and it's kind of like the little red book, you know. So when you open up, there's a catalog. But what people need, instead of just going online and typing in the wrong, you know, the wrong spelling and the wrong words or the wrong areas, and they're looking in the wrong areas, if they can actually have a base in towns where they actually come in, like Vision 85, if someone comes into me in the morning, I can recommend them to a lot of local producers or local people in the area and go, right, this is who you need to talk to. Here's a phone number, tell them I called. That's what we're missing out on. That's the old rural Ireland, is, you know, when you went into the post office, Mary knew everyone. Mary knew who to recommend you to cut your lawn, to fix your fence and all
Correct,
that.
yeah.
That's gone. That's lost.
Even the barbershop kind of politics, where you sit down 5 or 6 lads in a queue and you'd all be talking about local stuff. Often you'd find someone in that queue who knows exactly what you want to know, but you don't know it yet.
I think from there, actually, they've kind of gone to the golden pages, right? Because they realized that you need something that's central, and then that got obsolete with the internet. So I think in my opinion, it's more important. Yes, you can have a space, a physical space, but it's very important, especially now with the metaverse and all that going on. Why don't you think about a virtual space?
Yes.
Everybody can go there. And literally with the VR, I have a customer who I've done some cases for their VR system, and it's there for everybody now.
Yeah,
so
well,
they can reach
that's
it.
one thing in Vision 85. We are in time looking to bring in a VR, AR, immersive training space, because it's the future.
It is.
Like sitting down, like we actually could be sitting here and interviewing Arpad, like from, you know, two counties away.
Yeah,
First.
exactly.
And literally getting where we want, the topics there. There's no issue and problem with the distortion or spooling or anything like that. And we can have we can have an audience of 100 there, and everyone can still get their own bit and talk and all that. That's the future. The problem I feel is we're always cautious. We think of the next 6 months, a year ahead. I'm already 5 years ahead. That's the way you're working. You need to be 5 years, 10 years ahead and go, things are going to change. How do we go with it? How do we roll with the punches?
What's the next thing?
Yeah, and talking to businesses and go, like, the one thing what we will be doing with Laois Talks as well is we're going to go into the businesses around the county. We're going to literally go interview the person behind the business, and we're going to just talk about, you know, the strengths and the weaknesses of the business. But we will in time kind of advise them and go, hey, I just noticed you don't have a Facebook page, you don't have a website, or have you ever thought about updating your branding or something? And we can go, well, here's a business that we're in contact with, or here's a business close to you that you can actually talk to. And there is grants as well for this too that people don't know about. You know, the online voucher and things like that too. You know,
But just what I also feel is missing is, I mean, when new businesses are setting up, they don't have a business mentor who's brutally honest about what they went through as a business person.
but I didn't have that either.
I didn't either.
I didn't. I literally
nobody ever told me what to do.
Yeah.
Because of stress and anxiety, I ended up in hospital twice because of literally no one sit me down. Now I actually have someone that was by accident, and they've actually slowed me down. They've actually helped me concentrate and put my energy in the right places. And that's what people need.
But yeah, that's what people need. But even in secondary schools.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you have budding entrepreneurs in secondary schools all around the country, all around Laois. But you need somebody, not from official Ireland, as I call it, coming in to say, look, I set up my first business when I was 16. I effed up in this way. Don't do this, don't do that. You know, get real world advice, because a lot of what is out there is fill this form, and then.
Oh, the big word. Unfortunately, we're unable to do this. Unfortunately, that kills any business.
I agree with you, John, but the only thing is that we must not forget is that whenever you tell to a child, don't touch that because you'll burn yourself, what they're going to do first thing, touch it. Because they don't know what burn means, you know? So sometimes you have to experience it on your own skin to realize.
But isn't that the part, what you're thinking of, what you do is distill down a brand, right? So you're trying to make something that can be a logo, that can be on somebody's chest, it's on a uniform, it's outside your door, it's on your van. It's all part of that, but your marketing experience goes beyond that part as well. That's where most people think marketing actually exists. That's branding.
Brand awareness.
That's brand awareness.
Brand awareness.
Marketing is a different thing. Explain to us a little bit more about what
marketing in a nutshell. So marketing is the essence of sales, right? We are in the market to sell, and everybody sells. It doesn't matter where you are, at what age, at what state in your life, you have to sell, you are going to sell. At what degree are you successful? That's a different question. And this is where the brand will help, definitely. If like,
that's brand reassurance. It's like looking at Coca-Cola or
loyalty
Nike or
and such and such. This is psychology. It's a bit deeper topic, but obviously it's out there and it's used daily. So if you look at the marketing perspective, I'd say what is very important is make sure that everybody around you, that's the first step, knows what you're up to. Mm-hmm. Okay, so because to me it's very surprising that sometimes even my mother is asking, "Oh, you're doing that as well?" Then I'm doing something wrong. Because if you don't know, then who else doesn't? You know. And many customers, the first thing that I get a phone call is, "I'm not sure if you do it, guys, but can you?" And we do it. Well, if we don't,
it's a
we
core
know
principle, but they don't know it yet.
Yeah, or we know somebody who can help, you know, because we are, the company is a member. Well, I am a member of a group called BNI. And it's, probably you've heard about BNI, because who hasn't?
There's fans and there's detractors of both, isn't there, really? Of that.
Yeah, somebody
thinks
business
group network.
Everybody has their opinion of these groups, but I think it's very helpful. And the most helpful thing, just going back to marketing, is, to me, as a non-native English speaker, is the 60 seconds presentation. And I think it's very, very important for everybody to sit down, write down what you do, and have it in well, if possible, have it in 30 seconds, because the first impression is roughly between 30 to 60 seconds, and then you can introduce yourself instead of, "Oh, I'm doing this as well." Oh, and then you go home and, "Oh, I forgot to mention that I do that as well."
Do you know, in normal media, if you're going to say, you can open an idea for a pitch, for a show pitch, and you're going to RTE, TV3, whatever, they ask you what will you see in the RTE guide. You know, when your show goes into the RTE guide, what's the words that are going to describe your show? That's all they actually want. They don't want the script or anything else. They want that little bit. So it's about your 30 seconds or
selling points. Yeah,
selling points.
It's your key thing,
and it's obviously you have to make it as light as possible, because you don't want to dump statistics.
Well, people have to engage.
Exactly.
They want to know more about. Once they read those words, they're going to go, "I'm going to check this person out." You know?
At the end of the day, we all know that we are buying from people. People buy from people. It doesn't matter what business name is on the invoice. We all deal with each other. Okay, and there has to be some sort of a rapport, some sort of, I have to like that person, or we have to have some, well, even if we don't like each other, at least we have something in common, right? We think the same way, or we have the same ideas. Maybe we can help each other, even if we don't agree to a certain degree. I mean, come on, in most of the marriages, people don't always agree to each other, and yet still they're in the same boat.
Ooh, that's a tricky topic.
Deep topic.
Arpad, taking a marketing, where can people find you? How do people find out about you?
So our premises is based in the National Enterprise Park. It's Unit B7.
Not Vision 85.
No,
should have been. Not that you're in any way bitter there, Eamon.
No bitterness there.
No bitterness at all detected that side of the table.
I just didn't have the money for the quality that Eamon was.
Eamon was too expensive.
Eamon was too expensive.
I was giving him a boutique room, the Rolls Royce and everything for it.
Absolutely, yeah. I remember that, and I was going home and crying that I couldn't afford it. But sure, let's see next year. Maybe
I could have did a payment plan. No worries. No 90 days.
But it's good to be back, and it's good to see that things are going well. And I'm very happy to hear about your vision in Vision 85 and moving towards to maybe seeing what Portlaois is going to get to, and having the guests here from Portarlington. That's great as well. So fair play to you, and all the best and all the success that you can have.
Thanks, Arpad. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.